Okay. Welcome everybody. So I'm going to go over the long-term project that we're working on. So it's going to be called the Art Motion project. So this is for photography, computer graphics, art one, and ceramics. And again, this is for um, Mr. Wan's class. All right. Before going over the project, though, I do really appreciate you guys. Um, doing your classwork, turning in your work. Again, fourth quarter is kind of like one of those, really weird quarters, especially with, what's going on in the world now. It's just basically kind of like all of the teachers, schools are testing this online learning. And, obviously there are things that are nice about it, and obviously there's things that are not so nice about it. But this is just like all a testing because it wouldn't surprise me if the beginning of next year, we continue to do this online learning and still have some instances where we do go back into school using social distancing. So I have no idea how that looks, but this is all just kind of like testing new waters and new things. So I do appreciate you guys doing your work, turning it in. It's okay if it's not like to the best of the qualities. I understand that's things are a little bit harder now with completing your work, especially if you have questions or you're not sure how to do certain things. So that's why it's real important to just make sure to email me if you have any questions. I'll try my best that I can to help you to get through like your assignments and projects. Hey, but I really appreciate you guys though that are doing the work and turning it in though. So just moving on to the art motion project. So I'm just gonna be mainly explaining like the overall project and what we're doing. So basically using the emotion wheels that we created last week. So I had you guys work on these emotion wheels last week. So I had you guys come up with 8 to 6 different emotions that you're feeling during the this pandemic, last couple of weeks. And I wanted you guys to do like small little drawings of these different emotions. So basically in a nutshell, though, you guys worked on conceptualizing ideas, doing little like thumbnail drawings, and basically we're going to choose one of these emotions to do kind of like a big project. All right, so I want you to choose the emotion you feel most comfortable with. Creating not only the artwork but also sharing the work with others. So, um, choose something that you feel comfortable sharing and creating a work of art of. Okay, so I wouldn't choose something that's like would be difficult to draw or that's like highly out of your reach, but choose something that's like you're able to create a work of art and that you would also feel comfortable with sharing with others. And also, you want to change up your major idea, you can change up the idea. So, like for example, I'm gonna make another video where I kind of go through like the process of making the art using the emotion wheel. So it'd be kind of like an optional video if you really need that step by step on like how to get from point A to point B on how to do the project. But I was gonna choose this one where it's like I feel worried and I use like these eyeballs. And one idea I have with like the eyeballs is like I wanted to use like vision. What we see as like part of like the project. Like a lot of times we look at social media, YouTube, what's on the news and TV. And it does really make us worry a lot about those things. So another component I was going to add to this drawing was different types of social media that we look at that causes us to feel worry and anxiety. So this is like the one thing I would change up on this concept is kind of like what we're looking at, what we're being worried about. Now, guidelines for your art motion project. So this project can, just like I mentioned before in the beginning of the online learning, you can use any material you want to create the art. So it could be paper, pencils, markers, color pencils, paints, clay, sculptures, and or computers. So a lot of you guys told me you had, like access to paints and even clay, those, that's there in ceramics. So, I do really encourage you guys to, use the, supplies that you have at home, especially if you have like, really artsy supplies like, paints and clay. Do try to use those supplies. And also, if you have any questions on like how you should use the supplies or, like the best way of using it, just let me know. But otherwise, it's just kind of like, we're experimenting with these mediums, and there's almost like no right or wrong way of making the art. And then also, I encourage you guys, if you're in computer graphics or photography, if you really like using Photoshop or even like Illustrator, if you have like a little chance to. We only had like a little bit of chance to use that in computer graphics. Do try to use those items. I'm actually going to be doing a digital drawing slash photo collage thing with the one that I'm going to do with you guys. So we're going to be working on this project for about 3 weeks total. So, each week that you guys turn in your work, I'm basically going to have like a 10-point progress check of, what you're working on. So, again, if you don't get done with this project in 3 weeks, it's okay, as long as you turn in like progress and work that you've worked on each week. You'll get the full 30 points. Okay, so basically, when you guys upload your work, you'll either take photos or photo of your artwork, and if you're doing it on the computer, like I'm going to be doing it, you can just upload directly from the computer. Okay, it'll make more sense though when I upload the assignments and what's expected on the check. But just like I mentioned before, 34 minutes on per week on the project, and give your best effort. So again, this is minimum though, but if you're really enjoying doing the art, making the art, do feel free to spend more time on that. Okay, so I kind of wanted to show you guys like some examples of like types of art that were created either using like emotion or kind of like what we're doing with the pandemic, and kind of like explain like the approach of how you might want to do the project using these different art. So, for example, if you're doing photography, okay, so when you're doing photography, I would think about kind of like what kinds of photos that you would like to take, for photography. So unlike drawing and painting, or even like using sculpture and clay, you're not going to be spending a lot of time on doing that, one project. With photography, I would like to see kind of like groups of pictures. So, if you're turning in work each week, maybe turn in like 3 or 5 of your best photos that you've taken. And, just like if you're in my photography class, I always encourage you guys to take, as many photos as you can, about like, 15, 20 photos, if you were to go outside or stay at home. But some ideas that you could do though, maybe if you live close to like a city or kind of like like an area where like there are shops, you might want to explore like how the world looks, through the the pandemic, the coronavirus. I thought this one was like a really interesting photo here of these different shops that are closed, and like the messages that are kind of like being displayed on the windows. So it'd be kind of like interesting to see like a series of like how your town or the places that you go have changed over time, or even like showing the isolation of these areas that you've been in that used to be so populated. Maybe you can ask maybe like family member to go come with you, and it's kind of like interesting to see like these empty places, and having like 1 or 2 people in the photo kind of like show you that isolation of like these large areas. Okay, and again, if you don't feel comfortable with going out and walk around these areas, you don't have to do that. These are just like some interesting examples I found on the internet. But as long as you kind of like are social distancing, you're not too close to people, you're not like touching the windows or like the doorknobs of these stores. It's not really a problem with going out and taking pictures. There are a lot of people that are staying indoors. Um, there's not like a lot of people that are out in general, but just be careful though if you're to go outside. I know like more than half of you didn't feel real comfortable with going out and taking photos. So I completely understand it if you don't want to do that. But I just wanted to show you these two examples because I thought they were really interesting photos that people have taken that kind of like represent that isolation and that kind of like depression of these businesses. Other examples you can do too are maybe you can take photos of things that are happening at home, with your family, things that your family's doing to kind of like pass the time, or um, kind of like productive things that people do at home. So you could be spending time with family or hobbies or interests that your family members are doing. And one nice thing about these kinds of photos, though, you can take more of like candid shot photos where basically they're unaware of the camera, but like you have like this really natural, nice looking photo of this interaction between like this mom and the boy here. You can get like some really nice candid shots of what's happening on at home, also, kind of like demonstrating like being locked at home. Okay, so I would kind of think of like like a series of photos that you would take, or like kind of like an adventure if you wanted to go out and take pictures. Even like photos of like nature too. That's a good theme to focus on for photography. All right, with art, just like I mentioned before, art you can take it more of an abstract approach. So, you think about colors, the marks that you make. Um, Also, like when you're making like swirls, these more harsher marks. These kind of help to express emotion. So, if you have like paints, maybe you might want to experiment with that, or you could do something a little bit more kind of conceptual. If you're like really comfortable with like doing portraits, maybe you might want to do like a portrait with like emotions and feelings. Some of these are like a little bit more representational. Like this one's, all these hands are trying to reach for this COVID test kit. There's always like the saying that there's like not enough, tests that are going around. And there's a picture of like, like nature. That's like one thing that's prospering is nature. Okay, so you can go more representational or abstract. It's up to you. One approach though, if you go abstract though, is if you kind of go quickly with these paintings, maybe you might want to create a series of these abstract paintings. That could be an interesting approach. Sculpture, clay, kind of like the same thing as the art one. The art approach. This time it's more 3D, so you can do like like facial emotions. This one's like kind of like more in nature. This one's a little bit more abstract with these like kind of like cracks in, like the sculpture. I think that's kind of interesting. These like little naturalistic cracks that are created. So I don't really have too much to say about clay and sculpture because that's not like my big thing. But you can go 3D if you want. These are just some different things you could do. Demonstrating like the emotions, feelings, and then with digital art. So, in photography, if you wanted to, you could do like another, double exposure photo. That was like kind of like the last project that we did. And you guys are, most of you guys, have a good idea of like how you can do that. Also, if you want to do like photo collage where you can, combine different things, you can create kind of like, kind of like an advertisement or something with the pictures. And then this is like more of Adobe Illustrator, and this is like for we didn't really get a chance to work on, but these are like some really interesting graphic images that are created from the Adobe Illustrator. So my approach, if you're going to go with digital art, which I think I'm not many of you guys chose this avenue. You can look at the videos that we've done in the past before to see like how to do them again, or you can research, look up things online. Especially if you're in CGT, or computer graphics or intermediate photography. You guys have some experience with looking up stuff online to learn new things. But yeah, with digital art though, just real important though, just be careful of plagiarizing other people's works. It's okay to grab other people's photos to incorporate in your own work, but it's the one thing you don't want to do for do with your artwork is to plagiarize. If you want to grab like a photo of like this mountain here, and you wanted to um, sorry, my dog's kind of barking. Get out of there. But just like we mentioned before, if you wanted to, borrow other people's photos to incorporate in your work, in your own work, just make sure to change it up enough where it's, like part of your artwork, and it's not really like somebody else's artwork. So, for example, this person grabbed these different, I want to say like these different virus cells, and they used it in this composition here. Same with like the background, but it's just not like standalone where it's just like somebody else's work and you just call it your own. And that's another important thing to keep in mind too, when you guys create and do your own artwork is try not to plagiarize other people's work. um, it's ethically it's not right, and also just like school policies that you plagiarize something and you get a 0 on the assignment. So it's okay to look up other people's artwork or look at other people's work, or in the case if you're doing digital art, you can use assets and kind of like create your own art. But just don't look up something and just kind of turn it as your own. You can redraw it again. You can try to incorporate in your own art, but you want to avoid plagiarism. But we talked about a lot about that in classes too. Yeah, to plagiarize work. All right, so this kind of concludes the instructions on how to get started with the emotion art project. I am going to make another optional video to show you guys how I get started with my process. And if you feel like you need more guidance, you can watch like that second video. All right. Okay. So take care, everybody.